Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Wednesday, May the 14th. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local share market is set to open higher with ASX futures up around 0.1%. Global equities were mostly higher overnight on softer than expected US inflation data, while gold and oil gained and the US dollar fell. On Wall Street, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq added to the recent rally after the trade deal between the United States and China continued to boost risk sentiment and led some analysts to upgrade S&P 500 targets and lower their odds of a US recession. Semiconductor shares gained on hopes for a data center push into the Middle East backed by President Trump, who's in Saudi Arabia. That saw Nvidia jump higher. Shares of Boeing rose as the US and Saudi Arabia signed an economic partnership deal, with the Saudis committing to a defense sale agreement worth nearly $142 billion. Among the top S&P gainers were Supermicro Computer and Palantir Technologies, while shares of the health insurers were among the worst performers, with United Health Group falling to a 4-year low after it suspended its forecasts, citing higher than expected medical costs, which dragged peers CVS Health, Humana and Elevance lower. And crypto exchange operator Coinbase surged after announcing that it will join the S&P 500 next week. Well, US consumer prices rebounded moderately in April, up 0.2%, as declining food costs partially offset rising rents, leading to the smallest annual increase in 4 years. In the 12 months through to April, the CPI climbed 2.3%, while core CPI increased 2.8% year on year. However, inflationary pressure is expected to persist, even as the US-China trade deal made over the weekend, with the Trump administration agreeing to slash duties on Chinese goods to 30% over the next 90 days, while tariffs on US goods imported into China are down to 10%. Well, US Treasury yields rose on the lower than expected inflation data, overshadowing expectations that tariffs will fuel higher prices in the coming months, reinforcing bets that the Fed will take its time resuming its easing cycle. The US 10-year at 4.47% and the 2-year up to 4.02%. The US dollar index has fallen around 0.8% on the inflation data. The Aussie is trading at 64.7 US cents. And Bitcoin has climbed back above 104,000 US dollars. Crude oil futures have climbed, buoyed by the temporary cut in US-China tariffs, which is seen as improving the outlook for global demand. Brent crude futures are settling up 2.5% at $66 a barrel. Copper was up more than 2%, iron ore falling slightly to 101 US dollars a tonne, and the gold price has rebounded on bargain hunting after a sharp loss in the previous day. Spot gold rising almost 0.5% to $3,247 an ounce. Well, locally today we get the wage price index for the March quarter, along with lending indicators. And on the corporate front, the Commonwealth Bank has reported a 6% increase in cash profit in the third quarter to $2.6 billion, which came ahead of expectations. Its net interest margin was stable. That is your day ahead. See you again tomorrow.